a big welcome to my channel, the Amber Lynn Files channel, to Andrew Redfern. Now, you're the author of Minifigure Monarchs, a history of great Brits in little bricks. I love that title. That's a fab title. And you describe it as the retelling of over 1,200 years of history using thousands of Lego bricks, which is a great description. Now, I love history like you do, and I love Lego, apart from when you tread on a Lego brick in bare feet, which I always used to do when my kids were little. So I was desperate to find out more about this project, which is why I've invited you onto my YouTube channel. And I thought I'd interview you and get you to tell me a bit more about the book project, because it's really exciting. So thank you so much for joining me today, Andy. It's great to have you here.
No, thank you, Claire. It's my absolute pleasure to join this evening.
And you're joining, you said, from Sheffield, didn't you? So,
That's right, Sheffield, UK, yeah.
and I'm in sunny Spain, so I'm just telling everyone that I'm getting very, very hot because it's boiling here. Okay, let's go on to some questions then. So, question one, I mean, I think it's a wonderful combination, a perfect combination, actually, history and Lego, or Legos as they call it in some countries. But where does your interest in history come from? Um, what are some of the periods of history that you're interested in, you're fascinated by, and why?
Yeah, I guess start with history. It's always been there since being a little boy, really, just fascination with any place which has a castle. I went to school in a place that had a castle, which was great. Knights, anything like that always intrigued me, and that means that any kind of films or TV programs that have kind of got medieval, early modern kind of period, I'm always drawn to naturally. Um, I didn't study history at school for my GCSEs. I am a teacher, and I don't teach history either. I teach economics, but in my role, I do get to walk into lots of history classrooms actually,
Hmm.
and they're the ones that I'm typically drawn to and stay the longest. So it's a bit of a luxury that to pop in and watch other people teach and to pick things up. But I guess that's where it came from, really, just a general curiosity and fancy, around knights and armor and swords and castles, as as typical for little boys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where it came from. And I think around about well, when we got into lockdown, I decided I wanted to really start getting into podcasts. And I listened to, obviously economics podcasts, things like that, and general entertainment. But I really started getting into history podcasts, so my daily drive, I'd be listening to them. History Hit, Gone Medieval, all these ones which people will know. And yeah, it started from there and just that intrigue really. And I'd used kind of Lego or Legos in my job
Hmm.
to create resources to teach actually. And it was just such a natural kind of progression to kind of start to produce things using, Lego historical scenes. And then the idea just came, well, why not produce something which will last when I take the Lego to pieces, and that's where the
Yeah.
idea from the book came from.
Oh, wow. So that's how the concept of the book came about. But what was the actual,
Mm.
how did the project evolve? What was the start of it? You said sort of it was during lockdown that you kind of first
Mm.
started sort of thinking about it. But what was the actual starting point? And I mean, did you have another book idea, or was this the first one?
Yeah, well, I did actually. I've published kind of books before, not novels or but non-fiction kind of academic books
Okay.
for exam boards, etc. Back in 2013, I did a proposal for a book around teaching, and that got published by Routledge. And I really enjoyed that process of developing the manuscript, working with a publisher,
Hmm.
seeing the design through, and I guess I've always wanted to return to doing something creative like a book. And the two things I enjoy kind of building photography with the Lego, and just my general interest in history, kind of the two things came together. It was initially an idea. I was spending a bit of time looking into US history actually, and the kind of progression of the presidents. So that was the initial idea. So I started and I recreated all of the presidents, and I just thought, well, let's do something which is going to be a bit more fun, and I could build more exciting things. And so I then turned to obviously our own history and
Yeah.
started to look at kind of that period, starting with, I guess one of the questions is where do you start? Do you go right back into, Roman history, looking into the Picts and all these sorts of ideas? And I thought, well, I'll just go with what arguably could be argued to be maybe the first English king, arguably. So I went with Egbert and took it from there, really.
Mm. Are you going to have to do the American one as well?
We'll see. We'll see. It's a turbulent time, and
Oh,
I think
yeah.
we'll see what comes, and maybe at some point in the future I'll kind of revisit that project when this one's done and dusted.
I mean, you could start with the whole, the expansion of, England overseas and,
That's it.
Pilgrim Fathers and everything. Oh, I'd love
Well,
that.
that's
That would
it.
be
It's
really
funny
good.
enough, no matter what I do, I was always going to touch upon that as I work my way through to kind of James the first and sixth.
Yeah.
And for the books so far, I'd done George the Third. So I decided I think there's 6 to 8 pages which are just about the American Revolutionary Wars because it's such a big
Mm,
topic. So I've enjoyed doing that part of it as well.
that's fab. So, what is it about the sort of combination, the marrying of history together with Lego models that's so appealing? I mean, I can see, well, I suppose it's all age groups, isn't it? Because no one can kind of keep their hands off Lego, can they? But what is it about Lego and history, and how do you think the two will sort of complement each other?
Yeah, they seem to be two very different camps, don't they? When
Mm,
you kind of look at who, a question was who's the book for? Who are you targeting? Well, I'm
yeah.
not targeting anyone. I've actually done it for me, and if other people like it, that's fantastic. But I think that the two things marry up, um, and I guess I've come across this by just putting, well, the book's here, putting
Yeah,
the
show
kind
us
of,
the book.
I'll have to take the blur off a little bit
Yeah.
actually. But maybe there we
Oh,
go. You can
that's
see
it.
a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
more there.
yeah.
But in kind of producing the book and giving samples of it to people, obviously, photographs or paintings, historical ones, they draw people in. Um, and kind of recreating them with Lego, I find it really does draw people into it because there's a
Mm,
lot of detail. People looking at, well, how did you create that, or how did you build that, and trying to get the true likeness to historical characters. It does exactly that. It draws people in. And I
mm,
think the development of Lego they're not just yellow faces with a smile on now. There's
mm,
expressions and character, uh, different skin tones. So it allows you to try and capture the emotion of a moment in time.
yeah.
And that's what I've tried to do, try and get across whether it's a joyous or sad or traumatic, whatever's
Mm,
going on in the scene, try and capture that with the little faces in plastic. And it seems to work, and Lego don't produce a Henry VIII or an Anne Boleyn, so I've had to make them actually. So actually, it's been a process of actually trying to find the right pieces and then customize little bits and try to make them as close as possible. I mean, things like I don't know if you can see that there's get that right. There we go. There's
there we
Anne
go.
Boleyn,
Yeah. Oh,
just
wow.
recreated in Lego.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That was brilliant. Yeah, you should think Lego would have actually done it. They're missing a trick,
Yeah,
aren't they?
I think with Lego, they have a kind of, I mean, the Lego means play well, doesn't it? And they have a policy around trying to avoid war and anything like that, unless it's
Okay.
built into like a franchise, like Lord
Yeah.
of the Rings or Star Wars.
Hmm.
So they stick away from anything that might be political or controversial. But it's
Yeah.
an open
Okay.
medium, so it allows people like me to go and use it however I please
Yeah.
as a creative source.
That's fab. And tell us a bit about your research process for the book. the different periods of history? You know, how do you start? Because it's quite a wide period, isn't it? So
Yeah,
how did you get it right?
I mean, I'm trying to capture those 1200 years in you know,
Mm,
a 3 centimeter spine on a book like that, which
yeah.
is it is a big book, but to kind of condense it down, there's many other books which are um, trying to capture English or British history in a kind of a short form, really. The process is listening to podcasts, reading books. Now and again, I get the opportunity to read a bit of fiction around it as well. So things like The White Ship, I read that recently, and other books. But generally, I'm fixed to non-fiction historical accounts.
Mm,
The hardest thing really is, for a typical monarch, there may be on average 4 pages I'm working with.
yeah.
And on those 4 pages, I have to get at least two full page, images. So recreate something meaningful and
Mm,
what will draw people in, and then, capture the rest in text. So the hardest part of that is looking at the the life of that monarch. And as you go through the book, you can imagine when you're talking about the early medieval kings and well kings, it is very much about them and what they did.
yes.
And as you
Yeah.
then get into more modern history, it becomes less about the monarch and it becomes more around society and what's happening in the world. And the hardest thing has been to try and decide, well, what goes into it? What do I
Mm,
want to cover in a paragraph? What do I want to dedicate to a page? And throughout it, there's little sections where I've devoted a double page spread to a topic. So that might
okay.
be the Reformation in Europe. It
Mm,
might be the Black Death has got a double page spread with there's a whole page. I thought actually the topic of chivalry in the kind of 13th, 14th century,
mm,
what did it mean and the importance? That's got its own little section. And today I've been planning as we get into kind of 1834, we start looking at the Abolition of Slavery Act or the slave trade, how I'm going to capture that. And that just sits between kind of George V and Edward. So it's things like that really. That's the process, trying to work out what to include, what's important, and what to skip over, because there's a lot to get through, as you can
yeah.
imagine.
So have you gone for obviously some, iconic monarchs that have got there's quite a few sort of salacious details, have you gone for the kind of the scandalous, salacious kind of things, or their achievements, or yeah, or have you given a sort of a general overview? Have you told their stories?
Yeah, you mentioned kind of it's Lego and its history, and I guess one of the audiences which will be naturally drawn to it, and I've found are young adults
Yeah.
and parents who want to engage their child, in history.
Mm,
So lots of kind of parents who've come across my book and they said, "Oh, I'll get that because I want to sit down with, my 10-year-old or my 12-year-old or my 9-year-old and to go through it." And so I've been conscious not to water down history and
mm,
and I've tried to be very honest and not to skip out kind of any tier 3 language. It's all in there, and in fact, there's a glossary at the back to help with that. So I've had that in mind. I've tried not to be too kind of explicit, but not cut anything out. There's lots of stories and discussions around the sexuality of monarchs. Not cut that out in any way, obviously. But obviously not trying to look at it through a modern lens either, and not to, label a monarch as homosexual or not or anything like
yeah.
that, because um, how kind of sexuality is viewed through the centuries is very different to what it is
Mm,
now. So not to shy away from anything. And as I mentioned, there's going to be a double page spread around slavery. I'll be
yeah.
very
Yeah.
sensitive about the my choice of images, but I want to include everything because it's a true telling. of our history.
And bloodthirsty battles and executions,
Oh,
do they
yeah,
get
there's
covered?
oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, if in fact I've had to consciously take out executions because I think there's at least three scenes which I've recreated of an execution. There's Lady Jane Grey, Charles the First, and I think there's others I thought actually I need to cut back because there's a lot of that. But it works in Lego, and the great thing about them is heads and arms and things they do remove quite easily. So if you're doing battle
Very
scenes,
true.
you can be quite creative with how you tell them. But yeah, they're some of the scenes which are the most fun to create. But I'm trying not just to fill everything up with lots of people fighting and blood and gore, etc., and try to kind of capture other things as well.
As you need like the scenes that you've removed, they need to go on a website or something, the stuff you haven't been
Possibly,
able to fit
possibly.
in, because
Yeah, yeah.
that would be quite interesting to see what didn't make it into the book.
Yeah, exactly. And as I got through to obviously the latter part of the book, when we get to kind of Elizabeth II and Charles the third, kind of a bit of fun thinking, actually, what do I want to tell there? So I've actually decided to put scenes in which are about 80s pop culture, or what was life in the 70s. I know there's one that the final scene for Elizabeth II is going to be her parachuting in with James Bond into the Olympic
Oh
Stadium
yeah,
in Lego. So there's little things like that which are not typically about war, etc., but just
yeah.
kind of fun little things like that.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I really need to see that thing. So what was your favorite build for the book? What was your
Favorite
favorite
build.
scene to reenact in Lego?
Well, there's still about 25% of the book to complete, but I've enjoyed all of the scenes for the War of the Roses. I guess it's a favorite of mine. And I get when I got to that point in the book, I wanted to be as true to the heraldry and kind of characters as possible. So I worked with kind of little company over in France who kind of custom made some flags for me, um, of all the different heraldry from the different kind of families. So they've been part of it. So I had lots of fun building those. Actually, I think my favourite scene to build was the Battle of Towton, which in the
Mm.
book it's a double page spread, and got the kind of a river down the middle and an army trying to cross it and
Yeah.
falling in, etc. And it involved a lot of caster sugar, obviously because it's a scene in the snow, isn't it,
Mm.
Towton? So
Yeah. A
yeah,
very
lots of fun.
bloody battle as well,
Yeah,
wasn't
so it was a messy scene
it? Mm.
to kind of build because got sugar everywhere in the garage. But yeah, I'm quite pleased how that came out.
I was actually going to ask you, where do you do your Lego building?
Yeah, well, we've got some. So,
Because if you've got children, young children,
yeah,
then that's a
so I'm married. We've
bit
got two
tricky.
dogs. I've got a
Oh yeah,
4-year-old
dogs and
daughter.
cats and
That's it. So the Lego has progressed from the room I'm in now, just over there. And as I've needed a bigger kind of scene and kind of a lighting rig, it's progressed and it's in the garage. So I disappear
okay.
off to the garage and kind of set the scenes up there and do the photography there.
Yeah, it'd be
But the
really,
building
really funny
happens.
if you go to take a photo and someone's actually changed the scene. A character's gone missing.
Oh, that happens all the time with my daughter. She's taken characters away, and
Yeah,
so I have to buy her Lego she can play with, and then mine, which is kind of custom made for different bits, try
yeah.
to take them away.
Mm. Now, I mean, one of the reasons why I'm interviewing you, not just because I love the combination of history and Lego, but it's because you'd like people to help support your project, to help support your book. So, how can people do that? Tell us a bit about how people can support this project and order your book. How does it work?
Yeah, so I mean, initially people can, if they're interested and they want to really see the images and that are going into the book, I'm on Instagram, and so anybody who is on Instagram can find me, which is Lego underscore minifigure underscore monarchs. And you'll see the icon, which is a little Lego Henry VIII. So if you want to follow, and you can flick through and see all of the images because I put them all on there. But at the moment in July, the campaign is actually a Kickstarter. So a Kickstarter is a crowdfunding site for people who don't know. It's an American site. It's the biggest global crowdfunding. So how that works is creative people who are creating games and novels and inventions, they put them on there. Backers can contribute, and the reward is they get the product which is being backed. So it's on there. So if you go to Kickstarter.com and again, Google minifigure or minifigure monarchs, you'll find it. I'm pleased to say it's fully funded. It funded within 24 hours.
Oh, brilliant.
It's at
Congratulations.
So we're a week in, it's at just over 200% funded
Yeah.
now. So that's great. And the Kickstarter is just really a way to kind of exactly that, kickstart the
Mm,
project and get it seen and to share it with people. And I've been gotten some really good feedback on it so far. So that's how people can support if they want to at the present time. I
yeah.
guess my long-term ambition for it, as I said before, it's something I've done for myself, but
Mm,
um, it's not something that you can find or will be able to find on places like Amazon or the big kind of online retailers. But it's something that I would like to maybe put into smaller bookshops in the
yeah.
UK.
Yeah.
And when it's ready, kind of September, October, I intend to talk to places like museums and stately homes, and
Yeah. I
I
was
do
going to
think
say
it's
places
something
like the
which,
Tower of London and that would be fab to see
yeah,
in
I
there.
think it's quite a visual, stunning book. It's a big book. It does grab your attention, and it's kind of a coffee table book, something that
Yeah.
can people can have out and pick up. So yeah, I'll be talking to places like the Cromwell Museum and the National Trust and other
Hmm.
places up and down the country about seeing if I can get it stuck there because I think would be a nice fit for something like this.
Yeah, definitely. And now moving on to some questions that I haven't warned you about at all, but they're
Oh
very
no.
easy. Who's your favorite historical character and why? Not necessarily someone that you've made out of Lego, but just someone from history that's your favorite.
Wow. Well, you'd say that's easy, but it's probably one of the hardest questions you've asked me, isn't it?
And you can only
I
pick
do
one.
let's pick one. Okay, only one. I'll go for, I think it'll have to be Elizabeth the First. I think and I guess it comes on the back of enjoying the films and the different kind of portrayals in kind of modern kind of culture really. I just
Yeah,
find it fascinating. Not the first Queen of England, but the one who potentially had up till recent times the most influence. I find it fascinating how she was able to do what she did without a man by her side, and how she grew into the role.
yeah.
Obviously, she made lots of maybe bad choices as well as good ones,
Hmm.
but yeah, I do find her story and that period fascinating.
Yeah, definitely. And outside of history, and at any age, like now or in your childhood, what's been your favorite thing to build out of Lego, whether it's something you created yourself or whether it was one of the Lego sets? I mean, our house has been filled with, when the kids were growing up, Star Wars and Pirates of the Caribbean. I remember building the Black Pearl, which was a complete nightmare from Pirates of the Caribbean. But so what's been your favorite?
Yeah, I mean, authoring, creating a book is a great excuse to go and buy Lego under
Yes.
the guise of, my creative endeavors. So that there is lots of, as I've said, it's thousands of Lego bricks which have gone into building it. So at the moment, I guess I've got there's a castle which is a kind of a nod that Lego produced this a few years ago, and it's a nod back to the 1980s castles that they released. It's quite a big scale castle, and it features in some of the different shots in the background. So I've really enjoyed building that. That's kind of over 3 to 4 thousand pieces. But I guess my favorite ever set, well, probably when I was around 7. You mentioned the Black Pearl,
Mm.
Pirates of the Caribbean. They released a pirate ship in kind of 1986, 1987. I remember getting it for Christmas and building it with my uncle. Um, it's called the Barracuda, I think it's called. But I remember building that, and it sat on my shelf for years as a just as a model there. But that I think that was my favorite set. Again, it
Mm.
just goes back to remembering my childhood and building it at Christmas with my uncle. So that was nice.
Yeah, what I love about Lego is all ages enjoy it. I mean,
Mm.
we've got a friend here in Spain he's got a man cave, and he builds Lego, and I think he's just done like a VW Beetle and
Yeah, yeah,
that, and he's always on the lookout for Lego sets so that he can build something else. I think it's just one of those wonderful things that you can enjoy at any age.
absolutely. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Okay, now a bit of trivia about you, something that's not connected to Lego or history. What have you got another hobby, or is there something interesting about you that's I'm
Oh
putting you on the
gosh.
spot here?
You absolutely are putting me on the spot, aren't you?
Something
Um,
interesting, juicy.
Well, this is normally my kind of juicy thing I can tell people about that they don't expect. So you're actually interviewing about me, kind of my interesting thing that
Yeah.
I do on the side. But yeah, I mean, I'm just a typical guy. I've got a family. I live in Sheffield. I love getting out into the country, walking my dogs. I love football. Going to gigs, all the kind of, which sounds quite boring, doesn't it? But there's nothing else kind of
No.
salacious that I can tell you about that my wife wouldn't kill me for saying. So, but so nothing really, I don't think. You've actually picked up on my kind of thing on the side, which is my
Yes.
Lego
The thing
project.
that surprises everyone.
That's right, yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a teacher. I've done this all the time, really. Used Lego to kind of to help teach. So it was a natural progression to do this project on the side.
Yeah. Oh, it's a really fun project. Thank you. Thank you for sharing it with us today.
No, it's
So
my pleasure.
just a reminder about where people can find you and on social media. Just
Yeah, I mean,
reminders.
obviously this is a podcast and it's not one where we've got to show off. And I think people will probably think, oh, I'm imagining they've got kind of square blocks and Lego people trying it is quite sophisticated, the builds. And if it's piqued your interest, please do have a look. So on Instagram, it's Lego Minifigure Monarchs, and you can see all of the creations to date. Or you can find it on Kickstarter. Which is kickstarter.com. And again, search for Minifigure Monarchs and you'll find the campaign. And there's videos there where I taught you all through it. I do flick throughs of the book. There's even a stop motion animation where I was in the garage and the book opens and Lego jumps out of it and comes to life, which is quite
Oh,
fun. So
brilliant.
please do have a look at that. But yeah, so have a look online, Instagram or
Yeah.
Kickstarter to find out more.
Yeah, I'll add those into the description as well, so that as clickable
Perfect.
links so people can go to them. So, oh,
No problem.
I like the idea of the Lego pieces jumping out of the book. That
Yeah,
sounds
so that
good.
was
That
that was
sounds
that
fun.
was the launch video.
Yeah.
So yeah, the book opened. So I taught myself stop motion in 6 hours and did it. And
Wow.
book opens and a pirate ship rides across the book. Pages open, things pop out. There's a knight which runs across it. There's a parachuting in of World War II soldier. Henry VIII pops out at one point.
Oh,
Uh,
fantastic.
Isaac
Yeah.
Newton, his tree pops up and a
Yeah.
lapel in the head. So yeah, have a look at the video. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. This has been a real pleasure having you as my first interview guest. This has been
Well,
really good.
it's
So
an
thank
absolute
you. Thank you,
thank
Andy
you.
Redfern, for sharing your project with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. I really do love talking to people about their projects. So if you're an author or someone that's doing something history related and you'd like to be grilled by me, then please do get in touch. You can either get in touch with me through my channel or by email, claire@theamberlinfiles.com, and I'd love to interview you.